ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਗੁਰਮੁਖ ਪਿਆਰਿਓ This commentary comes to you as the fourth audio in a series of talks aimed at establishing the basic principles which we can apply in helping us understand Gurbani better. The first audio in this series introduced the basic elements of the first principle, which we called the Rahao principle. The second and third audios attempted to apply the Rahao principle to a Shabad from the Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, namely Bhagat Kabir's in Gond Rag. Naru mare nar kamna aave, pasu mare das kaaj sware, apne karm ki gat main kya jano, Baba re Rahao. This audio discusses the application of the Rahao principle in Shabads within Banis where the Rahao verse is not specified or not pointed out to us within the Shabad itself. This audio will make better sense if you have already listened to audios 1, 2, and 3. Now, we know that the Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji has more than 5,800 Shabads. The Rahao principle applies to each and every one of these Shabads. In cases where our Gurus and Bhagats have specified the Rahao verse within the Shabad, the choice of which is the central and which is the core verse is fairly easy because it has been decided for us. In cases where the choice has not been indicated, the verse containing the gist and the crux of the message is always the final or the concluding verse of the Shabad. So one group of Shabads that do not have a specified Rahao verse are called Paudis. Paudis are found within a group of Banis called Vars or Varan in Punjabi. There are 22 Varan in the Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. How do we apply the Rahao principle to understand accurately the meanings of the Paudis within the Vars? So let's begin by asking the question, what exactly is a Var? Now, minus the Mangalacharan, which is Ekonkar till Gur Prasad, the entire Guru Granth Sahib Ji is composed in poetry. Indian poetry, as we know, consists of a variety of forms, each having its own name, its own rendering style, and its own effect. In the Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, our Gurus have used a variety of poetic forms such as Slok, Chant, Dohra, Dopade, Chaupade, Ashtapadi, Savaya, Paudi, and Var, etc. So Var is basically a poetic form. Generally, the poetic structure of a Var is Paudi. In other words, a Var is a collection of Paudis. However, most Vars within the Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, while consisting of Paudis as their basic structure, also have sloks added on to each Paudi. Asadi Var, for instance, contains 24 Paudis. Vadhans Ki Var has 21 Paudis. Sri Rag Ki Var also has 21 Paudis, and so on. But each of these Paudis within the Vars also have between 1 to 5 sloks added on. So the second question that needs answering is, who added the sloks to the Vars, which were originally just Paudis? Now the answer to this question will help us in attempting to get a better understanding of how to apply the Rahao principle and thus how to decipher the messages of the Paudis within the Vars. The answer is that the Vars were composed as only consisting of Paudis by the Gurus who originally wrote them. Guru Arjan Ji added the sloks to the Paudis as part of his editing process when he compiled the Pothi Sahib. Now this structure of Paudis and sloks being kept together within the Vars was retained by Guru Gobind Singh Ji when he re-edited Pothi Sahib to Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. Where do we find the evidence of this? It is found within the Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. In their original form, prior to their inclusion into the Guru Granth Sahib Ji, all Vars consisted only of Paudis. Asadi Var, for instance, in its original form was 24 Paudis, all of which were composed by Guru Nanak Ji himself. But in the form that it is contained in the Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, Asadi Var also has 15 sloks of Guru Angad added on to the Paudis. Now, Guru Nanak could not have added these sloks since Bhai Lehna only became Guru and thus capable of reciting Gurbani as a successor to Guru Nanak. These 15 sloks of Guru Angad Ji and 44 more sloks of Guru Nanak were thus added to Asadi War by Guru Arjan. Also, Asadi War Paudis numbers 21, 22 and 23 contain no slok of Guru Nanak at all, only of Guru Angad. So this indicates that in the original composition, Guru Nanak did not consider sloks as part of the war. Now this pattern is also observable in the other wars. Sri Rag Ki War is composed by Guru Ramdas Ji and titled Sri Rag Ki War Mahalla Chautha Slokanal. The words Mahalla Chautha suggests that it was composed by Guru Ramdas Ji. By that we mean that all the paudis were composed by Guru Ramdas Ji. But there are paudis within this Sri Rag Ki War that contain sloks by Guru Arjan Ji. The sloks of Guru Arjan could not have been added by Guru Ramdas Ji. Maj Ki War is also composed by Guru Nanak. Title is Maj Ki War Tatha Slok Mahalla Pehla and contains sloks of Guru Angad, meaning the paudis were all composed by Guru Nanak, but the sloks of Guru Angad could not have been added by Guru Nanak. In his own wars, for instance, the second war of Raga Ramkali, Guru Arjan has also added sloks of Pagats. The Pagats obviously did not write their sloks for the paudis within the wars. It was Guru Arjan who added them to his paudis as part of Guruji's editing decisions and his spiritual wisdom. The point is clear, therefore, that the authors of the wars in the Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji originally and initially only composed the paudis. The sloks were added by Guru Arjan during the Guru Granth Sahib compiling process. Now, the sloks were specifically, specially, and extremely carefully chosen to illustrate and exemplify the messages within each paudi to which they were being added. From the Guru Granth Sahib Ji, it is evident that Guru Arjan had a large collection or a large pool of sloks composed by all 5 Gurus from which he could select to add to the paudis of the wars. He added between 1 to 5 sloks each to some paudis within the wars. From the Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, it is also evident that he had an excess of these sloks. What is the evidence of this? Again, it is within the Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. On pages 1410 till 1426 of the Guru Granth Sahib, there is a Bani titled Slok Varante Vadhik, Mahalla Pehla on 1410, Mahalla Tija on 1413, Mahalla Chautha 1421 and Mahalla Panjma 1425. Translated, the title Slok Varante Vadhik means sloks in excess of the wars of Guru Nanak, Guru Amardas, Guru Ramdas and Guru Arjan. These 16 pages thus contain the sloks of the 4 Gurus that Guru Arjan chose not to fit into the 22 Vara. They are then collectively arranged in this Bani titled Slok Varante Vadhik or sloks in excess of Vara. There are, however, no sloks of Guru Angad in this Bani, suggesting that all of Guruji's 63 sloks were used up within the wars of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. The fact that there are excess sloks of Guru Arjan Ji himself is indicative of the fact that sloks were written independently of the wars. Even in the case of wars composed by Guru Arjan Ji himself, sloks were added to the wars later on. If this was not the case, that is, if all sloks were written to fit the wars only or written simultaneously with the wars, there would be no excess sloks to begin with. Now, how does this information help us in understanding the paudis within wars was our beginning question. How do we apply the Rahao principle to paudis was the primary question. The answer to the question is that the paudi, because it was composed first, contains the core message, and the sloks, because they are added later in the spiritual wisdom of Guru Arjan Ji to the paudis, are therefore explanatory of the paudi concerned. We must thus begin our process of understanding by focusing on the paudi. Each paudi consists of up to 6 verses. How do we best understand the individual pauri? Well, we begin by understanding the core verse. The verse that contains the gist, contains the core, and contains the primary message, which is the final verse. So the Rahao principle applies to this final verse because for all intents and purposes, it is the Rahao verse. So the order of understanding a pauri is to first understand the final verse, the concluding verse. The final verse would then be used in accordance to the Rahao principle to understand the remaining verses of the pauri. The next step would then be to look at the sloks one by one as being supporting, as being illustrative, and as being explanatory to the pauri to which they are added. For the rest of this audio pario, we shall attempt to apply the Rahao principle to understand the messages within one very familiar pauri. Pauri, Kita lodiye kam sohar pe akhiye, Karj de sawar satgur sach sakhiye, Santa sang nidan amrit chakhiye, Peh panjan behrwan das ki rakhiye, Nanak har gun gaye, Alakh prab lakhiye. So this is the 20th pauri of Sri Rag Ki Var Mahalla Chautha, which appears on page 91 of the Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. It is therefore composed by Guru Ram Das Ji. Now the pauri also has 2 sloks attached to it, both of which are not by the 4th Guru. The normal translation of this pauri is as follows. The first verse, Kita lodiye kam sohar pe akhiye, is translated normally as, whatever work you wish to accomplish, tell it to the Lord. Karj de sawar sadgur sach sakhiye is normally translated as, he will resolve your affairs. Karj de sawar, he will resolve your affairs. The true Guru bears witness to this claim, Sadgur Sach Sakhiye. Now such a translation is obviously extremely problematic. Getting the Lord God to accomplish just about any work or every come of ours is not a Gurmat principle. And to claim that Guru bears witness, Sadgur Sach Sakhiye, that such will happen, begs the question, where and exactly when did our Gurus make such a claim? The other problem arises when we take the 3rd verse, Santa Sang Nidan Amrita Chakhiye. This is normally translated as, in the Sangat, you shall taste the treasure of the ambrosial nectar. Now this verse appears disjointed and unconnected to the earlier one of getting the Lord, God, to accomplish just about any work of ours. Now if God is going to do all our karma, then why do we need to go to the Sangat? The next verse, Peh Panjan Behrwan Das Ki Rakhiye, is normally translated as, the Lord is the merciful destroyer of fear. He preserves and protects his slaves. Now such a translation of this verse again suffers the same problems of disjointedness and unconnectedness. But if we apply the Rahao principle, which is to first look at the verse which has the gist, the crux and the core message, we will then be able to get a better and a clearer understanding of this pauri. So the core verse Pyareo is the final verse, Nanak Hargun Gaye Alakh Prab Lakhiye. Now this verse tells us 2 things in absolute clarity. First, it tells us what Guru Ram Das Ji once accomplished. This is the karma, this is the task, this is the courage. Now that's in the first part of the verse, Nanak Hargun Gaye, namely, that I wish to sing your praises, O Lord. Now the second part of the verse, Alakh Prab Lakhiye, means I wish to establish a relationship, I wish to establish a connection with the unfathomable God, Alakh Prabhu. Taken together, this final verse, Nanak Hargun Gaye Alakh Prab Lakhiye, tells us that Guruji's core message is that the way to establish a working spiritual relationship with the unfathomable Creator is to sing His praises. Now let's apply the Rahao principle by applying the core message of the final verse to the other verses of the pauri. Let's take the first verse of the pauri, Kita lodiye kamma sohar pe akhiye. Now we are crystal clear what is meant by the word karma. It is not whatever work we want to accomplish, but it is the specific desire for a relationship through the singing of godly virtues as contained in the concluding verse. Guruji is asking us to harpe akhiye. In other words, communicate this inner desire of ours, this come of ours, communicate it to God. Harpe akhiye. Now we take the second verse, Karj de savar, Sadgur Sach Sakhiye. The word Karj is synonymous with Kamma. Since we know the nature of the Kamma, we know that the meaning of the word Sakhiya is not to bear witness. Sakhiya comes from the word Sikhya, namely advice. So the meaning of this verse, Karj de savar, Sadgur Sach Sakhiye, is this. This Karja, this Kamma, namely the desire for a relationship with God, will be beautifully accomplished, Savar, through the Guru's advice, Sadgur Sach Sakya, through the Guru's true advice. And the Guru's true advice is contained within his Bani. The third verse is Santa Sangnadan Amrita Chakya. This verse tells us of the process, of the method of obtaining the Guru's advice, which is Santa Sangha. Santa refers to the Guru. Sangha refers to being connected or being in the company of. Amrit refers to the sweet messages of Gurbani, Amrit Bani, Har Har Teri, Sun Sun Hove, Paramagat Meri. And Chakya refers to the process of obtaining or realizing these messages. The fourth verse is Pah Panjan Meherwan Das Ki Rakhiya. And this verse takes the form of a plea, takes the form of an ardas, a prayer to the fearlessness God, to the fearless God, Pah Panjan, to take away all our fears in wanting to make a connection with Gurbani and with God through the singing of his virtues. So here we have a flow and we have the connectedness. There is a courage in the first verse, there is a source of the courage in the second verse, Sadguru Sach Sakhiya. There is the process to realize this courage in the third verse, Santa Sangnidan, and there is a prerequisite in the fourth verse, Pah Panjan, and a plea and a prayer to God to remove these fears so that we can meet this prerequisite. The question now remains, what are these fears? So this is where, Pyareo, we turn to the two sloks that are added by Guru Arjan Ji to this body. The first slok is Slok Mahalla Pehla. Kabod Dumani, Kodaya Kosayan, Parnenda Kat Chuhuri, Muthi Krodh Chandal. Kari Kadi Kya Thiya, Ja Chare Batiyan Nal, Sach Sanjam, Karni Kara, Navana Now Japehi, Nanak Agay Uttam Sei, Je Papa Pandana Dehi. Now the first verse lists out a collection of all our negative traits. Kabod Domani is evil intentions. Kodaya Kasayan is lack of empathy. Parananda is criticism of others. Koror Chandal is the demon of anger. All of these need to be eliminated if we are going to accomplish the Kamma and the courage which is outlined in the Paudi. The second verse, Kari Kadi Kya Thiye, Ja Chare Batiya Nal, tells us that the often superficial or external methods or the pretentious methods that we employ to get rid of these traits are not working. Chare Batiya Nal, which means they continue sitting and occupying space in our minds and in our lives. The third verse, Sacha Sanjam Karani Karan, tells us of the real way to get rid of these negative traits. The adoption of such truthful ways, the adoption of Sanjam, frugality in spiritual life, and adoption of virtues, Navana, now Japehi. The fourth verse, Nanak Agge Uttam Sei, advises us to not just drop our own negative traits, but to not teach or inspire others with our negative traits. Papa Pandana Dehi, Pand is a way, or Pand is Rasta, Dehi is to provide, meaning we should not provide examples or we should not provide our evil ways for others to follow. Now we can take a look at the second slok, Mahalla Pehla. Kya Hans Kya Bagala, Janko Nadra Kare, Jyotis Pave Nanaka, Kago Hans Kare. Here Guruji is using the illustration of a swan, Hans, and crane, Bagala, to make the distinction between the human with negative and positive traits respectively. Kago Hans Kare refers to the transformation of a human being from bad to good. Jako nadar kare means the transformation will take place upon the Guru's blessings. When it happens, nadar is bakshish, nadar is kirpa, nadar is grace. So, Pyareo, we see that by applying the Rahao principle, we are able to get an accurate understanding of the body, and we are able to appreciate the fact that the two sloks that are added on to the body are actually explanatory, exemplifying the issues and the questions that arise in the third verse of this body. So, the conclusion would be, Kita lodiye kam soharpe akhiye means, I have a desire for a connection with you, O unfathomable God, a relationship through the singing of your virtues. And I wish to harpe akhiye, I wish to communicate it to you, I wish to tell it to you, O Lord. Karj de sawar Sadgur Sach Sakhiye means this karaj, this kamma, namely the desire for a relationship, a working, beautiful relationship with you, God, will be wonderfully accomplished, sawar, through the Guru's advice, Sadgur Sach Sakhiye. And the Guru's advice is residing within his Bani. In our next audio pyareo, we will look at the second principle of understanding Gurbani, Pulchuk di Khima Karni, Vaheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki Fateh.